Hey boys and girls, in this video I'm going to show you how to make a tie-dye snowflake that has 6 points. This one is a little bit more challenging than creating just a 4-point snowflake, which I show you in my other video. And I also wanted to say that in this video I do a little bit of a different technique. I use a paintbrush as well as water and washable markers so that I can create what I like to call marker paint. I feel like that gives the tie-dye effect a little bit more pizzazz, and it makes it look more like actual tie-dye. Another note that I wanted to say before we get started is we use scissors in this project. If you don't feel comfortable using scissors, please ask an adult to help you. Even if you do feel comfortable using scissors, please be careful. Use your art supplies safely. Okay, let's get started. So we need a piece of paper turned tall ways. We are going to create a square piece of paper. So I'm taking the right corner, the upper right corner, and folding it down so that my edges meet on the left side of my paper, just like this. I want to make sure that both of my corners and my edges are lined up before creasing my paper. And then I'm going to ever so carefully use my scissors to cut off that big rectangle part of my paper that's left over. Put that aside, and now we have this beautiful folded square piece of paper. Now is the fun part. We are going to use our markers to create a tie-dye design. So I found the center point of my paper because we're making a radial design, and remember, all radial designs have a center point. And you can see that I'm not being super neat with this technique. I am being pretty loose with my loops as I create my radial design. So I'm just using my marker, creating these loops, making sure that there's a little bit of white space in between them, because remember, we're going to use marker paint, or we're going to create marker paint with water and a paintbrush on top of our washable markers. So those white spaces that are left over will be filled with different colors. Now you can see that I'm creating concentric circles. Concentric circles are circles that are on top of each other that get bigger as they go outwards. They radiate out from that central point, so my concentric circles have radial symmetry. You can see here I'm using cool colors. I sped my video up. I'm not actually that fast of a drawer. I'm using cool colors, but you can use warm colors. You can create a rainbow tie-dye. It's up to you what you want to use. I just think cool colors look cool. So again, notice I have some little white spaces, but I'm also making sure to use the thick part of my marker to apply enough ink that I can use to create marker paint. Voila, there we go. It's time to bring out our paintbrush and our water. Now, if you don't have a paintbrush and water at home, that's okay, you can just skip this step. Please notice that my paintbrush is full of water. This is a type of paintbrush that holds a lot of water. It is like a miniature mop. So I want to make sure that I dip, swipe some of that water off of my paintbrush before I get started. You can see that I'm starting to apply my water sort of in a circular motion. I'm just tracing each concentric circle, adding some water, and just wiping my paintbrush over it to blend some of that marker paint. You don't see too much happening here, I'm gonna be honest, but as this piece of paper dries, my colors will start to blend out more, and it will look even more like a tie-dye design. So it looks like I need a little more water here. Let me get some more. You don't want to use too much water because you don't want your paper to rip or fall apart. So you kind of have to find that good balance with how much water you should use. Okay, so one thing I forgot to mention. Make sure that you put another piece of paper underneath this, especially if you are doing this water application process, because your table will get a little bit messy and a little bit wet. Now I am used to it. I do all of my art projects in this spot and I just wipe it down when I'm done, but please make sure that you protect whatever surface you are working on. Okay, I'm all done with applying my water, creating my marker paint. You can see that my paper is pretty wet, so I'm going to carefully pick it up and lay it on the side to dry. It should take, I don't know, 20 minutes to dry or so. You want to make sure it's all the way dry before we move on. And I have one that's already finished here that I created with warm colors. Now you can see how the colors bled out a little bit more after it dried, and it really does look similar to Michael Phelan's artwork that we looked at. Okay, it's time to fold and cut for our snowflake. So I'm going to refold on that crease that we had before, that crease that we used to create our square piece of paper. And then I'm going to fold over the right side of my triangle to meet the left side. I want to make sure that my edges are meeting up perfectly. And once everything looks good, I want to carefully crease with my hand, and I like using the bottom of my marker to press down to get a nice sharp crease. Okay, here comes the tricky part. What we're going to do now is, I'm going to flip this over. There we go. We are going to fold this in thirds. So watch me carefully. I'm going to take this left side of my triangle, fold it so that I'm making a nice straight line down with my edges. Just like this. I hope that makes sense. It should look like that, and then fold the other side over to cross. If yours doesn't look like this, just unfold and refold until it does. You should have two little triangles at the bottom. All of your edges should be nice and lined up. And you should also have a nice straight line above those two pieces on the back side, just like this. So once you have something that looks just like this, you are going to take your scissors and carefully cut off those two bottom pieces right along that edge. If we kept those on, our snowflake would not be round, it would look more square. So it's time to start cutting our snowflake designs out. Remember, if you don't feel confident with scissors, please ask an adult to help you with this part. Please be careful with your scissors. Now you can draw your designs out, but I'm just going to go in with my scissors and freehand cut my designs out. The most important thing that I want to talk to you all about is the fact that you cannot cut through your triangle. Okay, so I'm just cutting the end off there. That's the only part that I am cutting through my triangle with. I am not going to cut all the way through. I am working little designs on each side of my triangle. If you cut all the way through, you will end up with 100 little confetti pieces and a sad heart. So please make sure that you are just cutting out designs on each side of your triangle. I'm cutting out some shapes that are more geometric, some shapes that are more organic, which means they have curvy flowing sides. It's up to you what kind of shapes and designs you want to cut out for your snowflake. Again, if you are one of those people who loves to plan out designs, go for it. I usually am one of those people, but I just kind of felt like winging it with this. So you can see that I'm cutting out designs out of each side. I'm being careful not to cut my snowflake too much, just taking little pieces off of each side there. I'm decorating the bottom part, that straight part. And I'm taking these little confetti pieces that I have left over. You can save them for a party or for another art project. Now you can see that I cut out little pieces on each side. I did not cut through the snowflake except for on my end, on the point. That will give me a hole in the middle of my snowflake. And now the big reveal. I am carefully and slowly, very, very carefully unveiling my tie-dye, very colorful snowflake that has radial symmetry. Wowza, look at that. So beautiful. You can see that my snowflake has radial symmetry because I have the same design all the way around. Everything is radiating out from the center. And there you have it. So what I like to do with these snowflakes is tape them to a window or a wall for a winter type of decoration. Please ask your parents before you do either of those things. Or you could hang them from a piece of string from the ceiling and pretend like it's snowing tie-dye rainbow snowflakes. How cool would that be? Okay, guys and girls, here's my snowflake. I hope that you enjoyed this project. Creating the 6-point snowflake is a little bit more challenging than creating the 4-point snowflake. But hard work pays off. Look how cool my snowflake looks. I bet yours will look just as awesome. Remember, take your time, be careful with your scissors, have fun. I can't wait to see all of these colorful snowflakes. Enjoy the rest of your week, everyone. Bye!